Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is the NFL Draft Prospect Show. I'm Harper LaBelle. Along with me is Vincent Turner, our co-host and founder. Vincent, we get to talk about a guy today that when you stop to think about the times where the commissioner of the league is going, and another the 14th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, they pick this guy's name, and then everybody goes, who? With the exception of the hosts, with Mel Kiper and Chris Berman and all that, who? Well, we're going to be talking about a guy today that was a who, and now he's not going to be a who, because we're going to talk about Mike Green today, the edge rusher and defensive end, or outside linebacker. That might be a position that he ends up on a 3-4 defense versus a 4-3, that this young man from Marshall brings a lot to the table. He is moving up the boards quickly. He had 17 sacks this year for the Thundering Herd. Very impressive with his speed. He's a little undersized in terms of his weight compared to the other great ones that are a part of this year's draft. Abdul Carter from Penn State. James Pierce, who we've talked about out of Tennessee. A guy that you'll be watching this weekend on the college football shows with Jack Sawyer from Ohio State University. But at 6'4", 248 pounds, right now he's the number 6 edge rusher. He's ranking an 87.2. The sky's the limit for Mike Green. Give us your first impressions when you saw and realized, wait a second, there's something about this kid that's a little bit different. He's moving up on my board.
Well, remember, this was a highly recruited kid out of Williamsburg, Virginia, Lafayette High School. Had almost like 25 offers. I knew of them then because I know Kentucky wanted them real bad out of the SEC. And I said, man, wow, I started looking at him, but I knew he was light. He was about 6'3", 225 at the time. He went to Virginia, then he transferred to Marshall. That kind of surprised some people. But I've always been intrigued by his physical skills. He's a 380-pound bench guy. They say he can bench it about 10 times. He can squat 440. So I say he's a very strong player. But if you look at all the great defensive ends that kind of fit that, I want to say, statue, Dwight Feeney was not a big guy. Robert Mathis out of Alabama A&M by way of the Indianapolis Coast wasn't a big guy. And Von Miller's not a big guy. So I said he's got some of them qualities like those guys that's played at a high level. And most of all, he put me in the mind of a guy that came out of Natchez, Mississippi, that played at the University of Pittsburgh by the name of Hugh Green. I think everybody knows him. Just because Hugh Green was kind of light at the size playing DN at Pitt. But what really stuck out to me, Williamsburg, Virginia, Lafayette High School, 25 offers. He attended the same high school as one Mel Gray and one Rob Springs that played with the Cowboys. But there's a guy that his family is kind of close to, and he kind of looks up to him. Maybe considered, and you played against him in your heyday, Lawrence Taylor, North Carolina, for you, Mr. Buddy Curry, because you was his teammate. So that would intrigue me about him most of all. I know he comes from an area that has greatness there, but his production is what I really look at him being at Marshall. And right now, a lot of people are saying he's dynamic, and he is explosive as a time bomb at the next level. Back to you, Hop.
Well, one of the reasons for that, Vincent, at least in my opinion, is his speed. He's explosive. He's got incredible movement. He's got a 4.57 40. This is a pre-combine 40. At that weight, at about 248 pounds, 245, somewhere in that range, 4.7 anything in pads is game changer, in my opinion. He's got an explosive get off. He's natural, getting around the arc of the pocket. He's fluid in space. But the thing that jumped off for me is that these are other folks that are grading him, and one of them says he has advanced pass rush skills with his hands, a swim move, and a counter spin that are all elite level. That's the thing right there. If you have multiple moves at the college level, and remember, he's only a sophomore, folks. He's a redshirt sophomore. He went to Virginia and transferred, so he's eligible for the draft as a sophomore, going in as a rising junior. I think it's early for him. He's going to know it, but he's one of those young guys. But because he's got the speed right now, and he's leaving a program that right now is a mess at Marshall with all the transfers, let's just be candid. If you had two offers and say, well, you can go to another school or you can go straight into the NFL, and right now you're the number 6 overall defensive end, I would probably tell him, you know what, you can't drink a beer, and so stay away from the bar and the ladies, but go make some money and go do it at the right way and go learn how to be a great quality outside linebacker like your namesake or friend of the family, Lawrence Taylor, is. I'd be in his living room every day asking him what to do. And where Lawrence would probably say, get out of my living room, man. I want to go play golf. Go out and have some fun. Go enjoy yourself a little bit. But talent amassed everywhere, speed. He does have some issues, Vincent. One of them would be against a double team or setting the edge on the outside against a big 320 pounder. He's got some difficulty there. But I think the speed that he has to be able to get around some of those will benefit him greatly in his NFL career.
I always look at when I see these players playing, I'm not going to say a lower level school from the power schools. I look at how they are scheduled against teams at that level. Against Ohio State this year, and we can all agree Ohio State is on fire right now in the college football playoffs. He had 5 tackles in the sack, competition level. Then I like what he's done this year on the scene. He's had 3 11 tackle games. Western Michigan, Georgia State, and Coastal Carolina. He's had 2 sack games. Virginia Tech, App State, ULM, Southern Miss, Coastal Carolina. So that tells me this is a young man that's being consistent week in and week out. I think he's a guy that's going to get to the next level, and I think you're not going to have to worry about this young man wanting to come work. The only problem that you just mentioned that I would have is that he's light. Can he defend the run at that weight? But they said the same thing about Von Miller, remember? They said the same thing about Robert Mathis, remember? Said the same thing about Hugh Green, remember? Said the same thing about Dwight Freeney when he came out of Syracuse. But if my mind serves me right, Dwight Freeney was voted into the Hall of Fame, correct?
Yes,
so
he was. Yep.
Basically, this is a guy, if I'm a GM, I love what I'm seeing as far as him as a football player, where he comes from, what he's done in Marshall, and he's a guy, obviously, that want to get better every day. To me, that's a good locker room guy and a good guy that you can bring in the training camp at a high level, and a guy that's going to give you some production at that level. Now, Hop, I'm going to get close up to the screen. Terry Fontenot, Falcons, edge rusher. Back to you, Hop.
Outside linebacker, guy who can cover, guy who can run with running backs, a guy who can hang with a tight end at 6'4". There isn't a tight end out there that he can't jump with, he can't run with. One of the knocks against him is at Marshall. He didn't play against top-notch competition, but Vincent, you just said that, yeah, he did. It wasn't every week, but he has, and he's excelled. He gets overwhelmed at the point of attack against a double team. Now, who doesn't? But if he's able to, you mentioned how strong he is. If he can somehow maneuver at maybe 252 or 254 without losing the speed, but getting a little bit bigger and heavier, that will help him. But 250, 270 against 310, that's still a difference in terms of going against a tackle or a tackle and a tight end that would try to double him to set the edge. Those are things that everybody in the world has to go against. But you know what? Everybody in the world also realizes that every single team needs a pass rusher. And if he's a guy that can get to the quarterback, and that's what they bring him in to do, he has the get off like a Vic Beasley, but he's bigger and stronger than Vic is. So it'd be very interesting to see where he fits in. Is he going to be the Pro Bowl Hall of Famer, or does he have to kind of wait his turn amongst the Pierces and the Carters and the Sawyers and kind of prove himself either late in the first or maybe in the second round? Vincent, do you think there might be a rush on edge rushers to where it gets him moved up in line a little bit quicker than what it would be if they had, let's say, 4 or 5 different DBs or running backs that come out? I'm interested in your thoughts about where he is in line right now. I have him at number 6 in terms of the edge rushers. Is that about where you've got him too?
Of course. I'm agreeing with you from this one aspect. The key to this game is covering and getting pressure on the passer. based where this game is going on, you got so many these athletic quarterbacks, and you got these guys that luckily look like they're going to be able to throw the football for a long time, aka Michael Penix Jr. I think what I'm going to see with Mr. Green is once he goes to the combine, and if he puts up crazy numbers, you say that 4.5 goes to a 4.4, he does outnumber his vertical jump. I think you're looking at a guy that can easily go from early second or late first into the middle of the first. And if I'm looking at him from a standpoint of being consistent, I'm an Atlanta Falcons, and if Terry Fontenot is still here in Atlanta with Raheem Morris, I think I'll be looking at this guy real closely because he seemed like a guy that loves football. Obviously, a guy that took a chance. He was at a program like Virginia. Said Virginia coached him well to a point that he felt comfortable going to Marshall, and it seemed like it improved over here. Look at his numbers, man. Look at his stats. This year, 76 pressures, 46 hurries, 17 sacks, 5 tackles against a team right now that's playing the best ball in the team in the college football playoffs, Ohio State. Of course, Mike Green, I think, has got a great future. And I think after the combine, I think he's going to move up in the draft.
Yeah, one of the things that you want to look at, folks, in terms of what are the tendencies, what are teams doing now? I look at Detroit, I look at Minnesota. When they played just the other night on the Sunday night game, I'm watching outside linebackers and sometimes inside linebackers that are smaller guys, but they're getting to the quarterback. The defensive coordinators are taking advantage of the speed and the ability to get around a bigger, heavier guy and get to the quarterback and move him out of the pocket or get the ball out early. That's a tendency that if you have the ability, and Minnesota's shown it all year. They've got the number 5 defense in the league, and they're getting their sacks and their pressures out of their linebackers. Those are the top guys, not the defensive tackles or the ends. So very interesting way of taking advantage of what you got. And this guy, Mike Green, with his speed, with his size, even though he's a little bit young right now, he's got some things to work on. There's no substitute for speed. And that's Vince Lombardi saying that. That's not me. I'm quoting him. So all the well wishes that we can have for Mike and his career at Marshall and at Virginia seemingly over, and he's going to go into the NFL draft. And I think he picked a perfect time. He's not the biggest, the strongest. If he were 270, maybe we would be talking about him at number 2, but he wouldn't be running a 4.5 at 270. So a little bit of give and take there. Vincent, final thoughts before we go.
Excellent football player, man. Might be the best edge rusher coming into the 2025 NFL draft. Like the young man, played at Marshall. I always look at players with production. He had a nice year with production at Marshall and played under a very good football coach in Charles Huff.
He's played some special teams. He's been on kickoff coverage, punt return, field goal block, some other things. So making a roster and getting him his foot in the door at the NFL level is certainly a step that he has already taken in terms of what can I do in college to get myself ready for my career in the National Football League. But he's explosive. He's strong. He's a good football player. And he may be best suited for a 3-4 NFL team. But we wish him the best. At 6'4", 248 pounds. He's ranked number 6 right now in terms of the scouting report. This is Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall. So for Vincent Turner, I'm Harper LaBelle. Our producer is Logan Landers. Thank you, Logan, for putting this together. We appreciate you tuning in to one more episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our NFL Draft Edition. Thank you so much for participating and be a part of it. Have a fantastic day, everybody.